Test, test. Welcome. It is 5:30, so we'll begin. I will call the Norfolk Public Schools District Board of Education is called to order. Oopsie, sorry. We'll begin with roll call.
Terry Bauer. Present. Cindy Booth.
Present.
Brenda Carhart.
Present.
Lindsay Dixon.
Present.
Beth Shashikant.
Present.
Sandy Wolf.
Present.
All members are present. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. This is a legal meeting of the Board of Education as advertised by the means specified in board policy. A complete copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the boardroom for your review. A copy of the agenda is available at the desk of the recording secretary. We will now begin our annual budget hearing. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. And welcome to the budget hearing for the 2023-2024 school year. The purpose of this hearing is to give taxpayers the opportunity to provide support, opposition, criticism, suggestions, or observations regarding our proposed budget. This hearing is for the budget only. Other items will not be discussed. We will hold a separate tax hearing at the conclusion of this budget hearing, and we will offer public comment section during our regular board meeting for other topics. At this time, I will provide a brief review of our budget items, which were previously shared in detail during our board workshop. Then the board will provide an opportunity for public comment. The adoption of the budget will take place by a vote during our September 28th board meeting, not at tonight's hearing. As a district, our budget and levy goals are to provide outstanding educational opportunities for our students while minimizing the financial and tax impact on our patrons. All of the estimated for each fund, the district does not anticipate the need to expend all of those dollars this year within our expenditures in order account for all resources available in our fund. Our general fund is our largest and most used fund. It includes all expenses related to staffing, instruction, transportation, maintenance, utilities, repairs, etc. $359 budget in costs related to staff salary, benefit, transportation, utilities, and contracted services. Of the $71,274,359 listed in this budget, we anticipate expending $61,505,256. $9,708,103 will remain in cash reserves for future expenditures and cash flow purposes. As in past years, the largest portion of our general budget, 82.81%, is for staff salaries and benefits. Transportation costs and utility costs have also increased, and we have new contracts with the city and the hospital for services provided no charge in previous years. It is also worth noting that significant amounts have been expended out of our depreciation and special building fund as we have completed the junior high, Bel Air, and Lincoln Elementary. Trend is likely to continue moving forward as we budget for other large construction projects such as the middle school. The same is true for the QC-Puff Fund budget. This proposed budget meets our general fund needs and provides us with the additional funding needed to complete the middle school addition and renovation, which is needed to address student enrollment, safety, and fine arts needs. We will hold a separate tax hearing upon the conclusion of this budget hearing, but I do want to note that this proposed budget would allow us to recommend almost a half-cent levy reduction. To obtain more information regarding the proposed increase in property taxes, citizens may contact myself at 402-644-2500 or the email or website address listed on the screen. At this point, we open up the hearing to questions, comments, and constructive feedback from the audience.
Hi, I'm Rich Riley, Norfolk, Nebraska. I sent you guys an email just probably prior before you getting here, and then I left some of the information on your desk. I guess me as a concerned citizen, taxpayer, it leaves me a lot of questions. And so I have to ask you guys, because I know I picked up some information, line item budget, the same thing that you guys got, to try and go through and make heads or tails out of where the money should be going and what have you. So it leaves me more questions than answers, to be quite honest. So I'm asking you, if you board members had enough time to look over all this and see what questions you might have, write them down and make sure that we're making the right decisions for our taxpayers. Are you comfortable with knowing that all your questions have been answered so you can make an informed decision for the vote September 28th? Yep. You know, because this does need to be in by October 1st, if I'm correct. So all I ask is do your homework, ask lots of questions. If you have questions about that, I will try and answer them. Just send me an email, reply to it, what have you. There's a lot of questions that I have. Thanks for everything you do. And this is not tough, or this is tough, so.
Thank you, Rich.
Good evening. My name is Tony Hofler. I live in Norfolk. I guess this moves. As you know, in the last legislative session, LB 583, historic measure of property tax relief and reform was passed. These include increasing the amounts distributed through the Property Tax Credit Fund, increasing refundable income tax credit for K through 12 school taxes paid, replacing community college property tax collections with the state funding, and injecting $300 million annually into public education in the form of the foundation aid and increased special education funding. I'm reading excerpts from Senator Tom Breezy, Chairman of the Executive Board, Legislative District 41, that was printed in the Norfolk Daily News on September 1st, 2023. In an effort to ensure that the LB 583 dollars yield property tax relief, the legislature also passed revenue cap provisions in LB 243. Under these provisions, schools are generally limited to 3% cap on overall revenue growth. But staying within the 3% cap is necessary to help ensure the additional dollars we are putting into the public education through LB 583 actually lower property taxes. An examination of the U.S. Census Bureau data will show that per pupil, spending in Nebraska is about $1,500 per student, higher than the average of 5 of the other neighboring states. Furthermore, a 2021 Rutgers University report on the adequacy and fairness of the state school finance systems found Nebraska ranked in the top 4 in adequacy of school funding. The clear takeaway, public education in Nebraska is already well funded. It was a monumental task led by Governor Pillen to get the above components of the property tax relief enacted. In doing so, stakeholders and senators rolled up their sleeves, came together for the good of all Nebraska, and got these items across the finish line. It truly was a team effort on behalf of all Nebraskans. Now we need local administrators and school boards to be part of that team. Our local partners need to resist the temptation to increase spending with this new funding, do everything possible to stay within the cap provisions of LB 243, and ensure that these additional dollars injected into the public education yield property tax relief for everyday Nebraskans. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
I don't have a piece of paper.
Microphone's on.
Apparently, I'm supposed to have a piece of paper that I hand this gentleman.
If you just say your name, we'll be happy.
Okay. My name is Rod Wilkie. Rodwilke. Okay. And I have in front of you a portfolio that I brought with me. It's called Pork Systems. And I bring this because I'm really concerned about what our city educational system is doing, like our city system is doing. This is a copy of the Norfolk Daily News. Our governor said that Pillen wants schools to deliver tax relief. And what I'm here tonight to announce is that you're asking for more dollars, and our governor is asking for tax relief. He put $300 million to the schools to reduce taxes to us. You look at me, you can tell that I'm not probably in the employed service. I tell everybody I'm not employed, I'm unemployed. They ask if I'm retired, I say no, I'm unemployed. But I'm on a fixed income. And the educational system in this state is ruining us. 60% of what I pay in taxes goes to this public school system, which is ridiculous. You renovate facilities, you want the best for your teachers, which is fine. Teachers need to be respected and paid. I was educated in a one-room school with an outhouse. I didn't need all of the best. I was educated. And for some reason, this school administration thinks they need more money from taxpayers. We can't afford it. Understand that. The governor has given you dollars for tax relief, not for your relief. I used to raise swine to make money. For those of you in the audience who don't know what swine is, that's hogs and pigs, whatever, okay? I had one sow that would never quit eating. No matter how much I gave her, she would eat it all. I could keep giving her more feed, and she ate it and wanted more. And that is exactly what the educational system in this country is doing. In this city, in this country, they want more and more and more. I took that sow, for those of you back there, that's a mature female hog, pig, okay? And I reduced her diet. I reduced it significantly. I separated her from the herd. I fed her less. You know what she did? She looked better. She was healthy. She produced more because I treated her respectfully. What I'm saying to the educational system is that it is a fat sow that is requiring too much feed. And we need to reduce that. Do you understand me? I don't know how other words to put it. You don't need more to produce more. Okay? You need less to produce more. It makes you more efficient. And so with that, I just ask you to reduce your budget significantly in this city. The city needs to do that too. The mayor needs to be here. Mayor Moaning, M-O-A-N-I-N-G, needs to be here to hear this. Because we cannot support this. It's ridiculous to keep adding more and more dollars to a budget. For people like us, we're on fixed income. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod.
My name is Gary Schecker. I'm here in Norfolk. I'm against your budget increase also. Kind of on the same lines as the last speaker. I know that each household in this district, if you're on a wage, you have not gotten a 10% increase in your wages. My company that I've worked for years usually is 1 to 3%. 3% is really a good wage increase, but usually it's a 1%. With the increase in valuations of my house, I went down and protested against the increase. Got nowhere because they said that's just what houses go for. But the problem with that is if you're on a wage increase like this on the city, on the county, on the school district, what does that really amount to in wage increases? Did anybody in this room get a 15 to 20% increase in wages just to offset the increase in taxes? I don't think anybody has. And I know all budgets are padded for extravagant expenditures that might be foreseen or unforeseen. I farmed most of my life too, while working in town to make those ends meet. I've had to learn how to tighten a budget down to rent instead of buy, because that makes more common sense on making your budget stay within your ranges that you are able to sustain. I think the school district has gone a little bit above that, and like the last speaker, sometimes we need to reduce to make ourselves more efficient. And with that, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary.
My name is Kay Francavilla, and I live at 1006 Verges. I am asking that the board not approve the proposed budget because it is over the 3% cap recommended by the state. Sadly, one of the main costs in the budget is salaries, which are fixed. We were told by the administration that the teachers all needed a raise so that they wouldn't leave. We were told at the board meeting approving these raises that teachers are leaving because they aren't paid enough. Having subbed for the Norfolk School District for 2.5 years, I will tell you that, in my opinion, teachers are leaving not because of salaries, but because there is no discipline in the schools. They are also afraid of being turned in by the students for reprimanding them, hurting their feelings, or calling them by the wrong pronouns. Yes, this does in fact happen. So where does a school cut from their budget? When I was in high school, the focus was on teaching students those things that enable them to be productive adults: reading, writing, and arithmetic. How are we doing on that these days? Not so good. Norfolk is graduating students with failing grades in English and math. These numbers have been discussed at previous meetings. It seems that there is more focus on extracurricular activities like sports and various clubs than on the essentials. Look at the numbers and see how much is budgeted for things like buses, vans, gas, maintenance of vehicles, uniforms, travel expense, etc. Back in the early 90s, I lived in Scottsdale, Arizona, which was known as a retirement community. Taxes were extremely low there, and the taxpayers wouldn't vote for any bond issues to the schools. So they were working on a limited budget. What did they do? Were they firing science, math, and English teachers? No. My son went to a high school that had approximately 2,500 students. They eliminated their football team the year after we moved. When you don't have money, you tighten the belt, so to speak, and do what you have to do. That's what this high school did. Am I anti-sports? No, not at all. I'm not anti-extracurricular activities either. But what I am opposed to is continuing to go to the taxpayer to help bail the school system out, rather than get to the root of the problems. Many of my friends are elderly. I spend a lot of time at the senior center. I'm the president of their board. So I know that this is true. I talk to these ladies. They still own property, yet they live on a fixed income. Their taxes continue to go up and up. As the gentleman, Mr. Wilkie, said, this has a devastating effect on them. They have to figure out a way to live within their limited income. It is time for our school district to tighten our belts and find ways to cut non-essential expenses. Does that mean that we may have to delay the proposed changes to the middle school? Would it be nice to have a larger updated middle school? Absolutely. I'd like to drive a newer car too. There are needs and there are wants. It shouldn't just be the taxpayers that learn to live within their means.
Thank you, Kay.
Good evening. Chuck Hughes, principal of the middle school, 1604 North 30th. Going to the middle school is what I love to do every single day. I care about the people that I serve. I'm also a proud parent of 2 Norfolk Public School students, an 8th grader and a senior. Both went through the middle school. But tonight I come before you to discuss the needs of the middle school addition. Approximately 85 staff members are there that I serve every single day. And that is not including our LSI staff for our lunches, and that is not including our aftershock staff, which is our after-school program. In a typical school year, we have approximately 660 students walk through our doors every single day. Currently, we have 0 open areas to add classrooms or workspaces for any additions that may need to come our way in an ever-changing world, which ties into our budget that we're discussing tonight. We utilize every single room that we have to try and meet our needs to the best of our abilities. In the proposed remodel in addition to the middle school, we would look to add plenty of space to meet the needs of our students as we move forward. Some needs that our students and staff would receive: a new music area for our general music and choir. Our choir classes run on a Monday, Thursday, and Tuesday, Friday practice schedule, even splitting a grade level choir into 2 groups because our choir's big. We don't have enough room. The room provided is usually jam-packed. We have over 50 students in every group at both of our grade levels. We would also look at adding a new band and orchestra classroom, along with storage for our instruments. Our current room is extremely tight as we try to fit all of our students in there, along with all of the instruments for both band and orchestra. All of you have visited the middle school. All of you have seen what that room looks like. especially when it is used and it is full. Many of you have commented to me that there's a definite need for a larger area for both our band, our orchestra, and our choir students. Our 5th grade band is currently placed in a room not much bigger than an office space. We have tried to soundproof it as best we can, which, as you can about imagine, is not great. Do you know how much space 7 students trying to take up trombone, how much space that takes up? Or 8 people learning the trumpet? Or 5 percussionists? If not much is going on in our small commons area, our band students and our teacher try to go out there so they can have a practice because they're out of room. It is definitely not ideal, but we do the best that we can. One of our open areas was closed off a year or 2 ago in order to build a room for our STEAM class, for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And our STEAM class is top notch, and that is a great room for our kids. In remodeling and repurposing the current office structure, along with the addition to the aforementioned music areas, we will gain 7 additional classrooms to potentially add core classroom teachers or specialist teachers such as art, music, and potentially STEAM. Our current specialist teachers have higher class sizes than anybody else because essentially they are single-tracked. Our conference rooms are utilized at most points during the day because our paras and our teachers are working with students in those areas. However, if we have to have a team meeting or a parent meeting or an IEP or a 504 or a SAP meeting or an MTSS meeting or any other meeting that you could potentially have in a school, we have to kick out a group of students along with their para or their teacher in order to have that meeting during the school day. And that is all because we don't have the room. The addition would provide conference rooms in the main office so that our students would be able to work with small groups inside the building area. And most importantly to me, the addition will provide a safe and secure entrance into the middle school. Currently, we buzz people in. Once inside, they are supposed to go to the office. Many times, I've heard our office staff encourage patrons to come to the office in order to check in before they start to wander around the building. I've even witnessed one of our staff members, our secretary, with half of her body out of the window, yelling at a patron to come back and check in at our office. Safe and secure. Our entrance is technically safe and secure, but really isn't. Could it be better? And that's where the middle school addition comes in. 7 classrooms, band, orchestra, music addition, offices, nurses station, counseling room, SRO space, and more. Most importantly, safe and secure entrance for 85 of our staff members and 660 students. Safe and secure. And that's what the middle school needs, and that's what you can provide. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
See over here. I'm Jan Haberman, 204 East Phillip, here in Norfolk. Last year, during the budget, when Dr. Robinson presented the budget, I was present. At the end of the meeting, the presentation, Brenda Carhart asked a question that since property tax evaluation went up 6.2%, shouldn't the levy go down some? She asked that question 3 different times, and each time she did not get an answer. There was dead silence in the room, and that it seemed very, very tense. In my opinion, I thought there should have been some answers, some discussion about this one, not just the dead silence. Because 6.2% increase of tax evaluation means a lot of money to the schools. Now, I am asking you that same question. Since evaluation property went up 16 or around 16% this year, resulting in millions more dollars from taxes due from the increased evaluation added to our property, shouldn't the levy go down more than was proposed? Every landowner, including myself, is paying hundreds of dollars more in taxes, 16% more. Many taxpayers are digging into the money saved for retirement to pay their property taxes, and many more are wondering, where are they going to come up with the extra money to pay their taxes this coming year? I wonder how many have to cut out necessities so that they can pay their taxes. Not there is a, and on all the people who rent, their extra, the tax, their money goes, their rent goes up. It might not be taxes, but it's rent so that the landowner can pay the taxes on the rental property. It's passed on. So this is hurting everyone, not just a few. And Norfolk is not a community that has, or that we're a community that has a lot of poverty and fixed income people in this town. So I ask you that question again at this board meeting. I'm asking you to send the budget back to be reduced because of the increase in the amount of money because of the increased evaluation of property. I also would like you to reduce the budget because of all the work that Governor Pillen and the state legislature has done to add more state aid per pupil and to get a bigger chunk of the sped funds reimbursed. And he is, I've been reading in the paper how he's been asking schools to stay within their budgets and not impose additional taxes on their patrons. So again, I ask, please reduce the levy of that is, which is the taxes that we have to pay, so that and stay within the budget. I'm asking again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
Hi guys, Tyler Baronic. This is my 6th year working in the district. 2nd year as the assistant principal at the middle school, so that's what I'm here to talk about. I've had the privilege over my time in this district to work with some outstanding educators. I've had great leadership, that's why I've jumped into the role that I'm in now. I've learned a lot from everybody I've worked with, and I know this year our goal has been, and Dr. Thompson has stressed upon all of us to be outstanding, which I just so happen to be wearing the t-shirt today, but I feel like in order for us to be outstanding, our teachers are doing everything they can. They're jumping through the hoops, they're working with students, and you know what? Right now we lack the space to do that. I know Mr. Hughes just touched on that, so I'm not gonna get into all the details, but a couple of big things. Being on the safety team with Mr. Wilson here, we are an unsecure entrance. Yes, we buzz people in, but then we're taking a lot of faith that they're gonna walk the right path to come into our doors. And, you know, we ask our kids, don't prop doors open, don't let people into other doors. But then we put them in a situation where somebody can just walk up the stairs. And if I'm not in my office, Mr. Hughes isn't in his office, we're relying on our secretaries to jump out of the window to track someone down. And then what? You know, I have the privilege of being a large male. I don't know what a smaller statured female would do if somebody really wanted to get into our building to do something that we don't want. Classroom space, again, Mr. Hughes touched on that. You know, we have people in closets. Our tech support is in a closet that students can't find because it's off the beaten path. So when they have troubles with their Chromebooks, it takes them an extra 5 or 10 minutes, it seems, for some of those 5th graders to find where they need to be. Breakout areas, again, Mr. Hughes touched on that, but small groups, you know, when we pull students out, it's hard to find that space for them. And we've also had some students that just need a safe place. They just need a spot to go and cool down, to collect their thoughts. If they go with a teacher or they contact an administrator or a para, we don't have the space for them to go and collect their thoughts and get calmed down so they can go back to the classroom without being a distraction. That's been a big concern for us this year because my office isn't always available. Mr. Hughes' office isn't always available. And then our storage space. Last year, one of our open areas that was recently cleaned up and teachers are using was just full of desks. And one, it was an eyesore, but two, it was a waste of space that could be used for learning opportunities. So again, you know, the extra classrooms and storage and all of that, that's great. But at the end of the day, it does come down to safety. And I know that's one of the big things that we work on. And I just hope that that's in the back of your mind when you think about making this vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Stoliker. Sorry, I don't have a card. He knows me. This is my 5th year teaching at Norfolk. I am a teacher at Norfolk High. I just wanted to speak about the budget increase as a current teacher at Norfolk. As someone who has been in the negotiation process, I know that it's difficult, and I've only been on the teacher side, I will admit that, but and it's difficult for both sides, and I know the decision of this proposal was not taken lightly. I know there was a lot of serious consideration put into it, and but I do believe that the teacher pay increase and just the increase in general is really positive for the district, because the teacher pay increase really is to be competitive with surrounding communities, with other districts. That's something that we've seen in our building, we've seen just in general, and not only that, but by increasing the budget, it helps and gives that slight increase to teacher pay, which I myself and my colleagues need every year. Our job is hard enough without trying to figure out how to make ends meet, without having to go home every night and figure out, like, how are we going to pay our bills this month or things like that, especially with the rise in cost of everything. And then one thing I think a lot of the community members might be forgetting, or people in general, when they look just at the numbers, is that not only is it for the teachers, but it's for the students. Because we want to get good teachers, we want to not only that, but it helps us improve the buildings like we've been talking about with the middle school. Also ensuring that students have access to technology, which is pretty much a requirement in the 21st century. And also updating the curriculum, which is a constant thing that we are doing every year. And I just really wanted to speak about this as a current teacher, as a community member, and a taxpayer in Norfolk.
Thank you, Alexander.
Peggy Hoffman, Norfolk. I did send an email to the board members. My question was, how many free and reduced lunches, how much has that increased in the last 3 years? People who are taking free or reduced lunches, and I don't need a number, but I'm guessing that percentage has gone up. Okay, so when we got those yellow property valuation increases, and we saw all that, you know, the parents of those free and reduced children also have to pay that increase. They pay it through an increased mortgage and an increased rental rate. Because when the valuation went up, their home insurance went up. Their renter's insurance went up. And inflation, while we first talked about the middle school in, I believe, February or March, inflation was at around 6%. It's now down to 3%. And it's still taking a big bite out of our wages. So your wage increase seems like nothing because prices have gone up. So the numbers don't work. And if you want those children's families who are already on free and reduced lunches to be more impoverished, I would venture to say there's more of us in that income bracket than in any of you sitting at these tables. More of us. We're retired, we work on maybe lower incomes, we have a single income in the family, or we're one of those free and reduced parents struggling, maybe with 2 or 3 jobs, and still have to ask for help. It's embarrassing, for one, but nobody's going to deny those children. So if you talk about taking care of children, let's really think about the children and their families. Now, 660 students having a safe entrance, I agree. And as far as room is concerned, has anyone said anything about, are they using the gymnasium for any of those breakout things? They can't have physical education classes all day long. There has got to be a space, and a large one. I know it can be done. And it sounds to me like the teachers there are being very resourceful. It might not be convenient, but they're making it work. So I applaud them for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bo Vergas, 2804 Dover Drive here in Norfolk. Here to speak in support of the budget that is put in front of you. Not only in support of my colleagues, Mr. Hughes and Mr. Bronick, but also as a parent of 2 kids in our district. One of which is a 6th grader at the middle school currently, and wouldn't reap the benefits of what would be proposed tonight, but a son who will be going to the middle school here in a few years that would most definitely take advantage of a safe and secure building that they deserve. So I thank the board for being here tonight. Obviously hearing everybody's side, everybody has and is entitled to come and say their opinion and speak their piece. But as you vote tonight, I hope you vote with the clear picture in mind of what's best for kids. And that's the biggest thing as a board member, is to make sure that we are doing everything we can to make sure our kids are being provided for. There's a lot of comments that are made that just simply aren't true, and it's important that we have to come and sort those things out. And we feel the tax burden. You and I feel that just as much as anybody else with the increase in proposed budget. But back 50 years ago or so, when this building was built, a safe and secure entrance just wasn't a thought. But more and more people want to go into our schools nowadays and do harm to kids. That's just the reality we live in now. And it's a sad reality, but it's a reality. And many of our other buildings in our district have been updated to a safe and secure entrance. 20-some years ago, when I was a junior in high school, I was a student and one of the teachers that are sitting in this room right now. And I went to the different buildings, including the junior high, who did not have a safe and secure building. That's when the entrances were on the 2nd floor, and proposed and put together a filming project for the board to look at in order to pass a bond issue, and that passed. So, that's just one example, but, things like when people come up here and are against, increasing taxes or increasing wages for educators and things like that, those things, it gets at me a little bit as an educator, because I'm proud of who I am and I'm proud of who we are. But more and more people put just unreal demands on education. And so when you talk about what's doing less with more, understand about being fiscally conservative and effective with tax dollars and whatnot. But you're talking about taking things away from people that educators need to educate children, and that's a slippery slope, because we started doing that, burnout is going to increase tenfold, and who's going to come teach your children? So as you guys vote tonight, I do wish that you guys keep those things in mind and do what's best for kids.
Thank you, Bo.
Yeah, Steve Sonnerman from Norfolk. Appreciate the time here to talk to you guys. I know you have a very challenging job in front of you as you guys help oversee, one of the most important tasks that our community is given, and that's educating our children. You've obviously heard a lot of pushback on your guys' budget tonight, and probably will continue to do so just because of the increase that it is. But I just want to make a comment that, that's not because these folks don't want to see you guys be successful in this mission, or that they're not willing to help assist in that. I think that a big part of it is just transparency. And so I really ask the board as well as administration to help increase that transparency so that they feel like, they know what's going on, they can give proper feedback so it's productive and not counterproductive, like you guys may feel it often is. I know a large part of the budget increase, as some people have spoken on, is the middle school addition. I would just encourage the board, as we move forward, that large capital projects like this maybe should go to a bond issue vote, to give the community a chance to give their feedback on if they think it's a vital need, versus it being a unilateral decision made by you guys tonight. And so I appreciate you guys, the hard job you do, and appreciate the time to give you some feedback.
Thank you, Steve.
Not during the budget hearing, but there will be a tax hearing coming up. I guess you could speak during that one, sir. In just a few minutes, we'll have a tax hearing. I am the superintendent, Dr. Thompson. You can speak during the tax hearing in just a moment.
Dr. Thompson, can any of the board members speak if they'd like, or should we wait?
That's up to you.
Is there anybody that would like to say anything or address any of the comments? Beth? Sorry.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Ipinson. I live at 1302 Hillview Drive here in Norfolk. I have 2 children at the high school, and I'm a previous public school teacher in several Nebraska districts, including NPS. First of all, I'd like to thank you for taking care of our students and staff, and I stand tonight in support of the proposed budget. There's been an accusation here tonight that the school builds extra in the budget for, quote, extravagant expenses, and I just want to make it clear that that is untrue. Our district has done an outstanding job of being very considerate of taxpayer dollars that are spent. My property valuation also increased, so I understand the concerns raised here tonight. But that being said, we also need to consider the facts and make decisions in the best interest of both our schools and our community. Other false accusations I heard tonight include that there's no discipline in the schools. That's false. I've worked in the schools. I have kids in the school. Our teachers and our administrators work hard every day, and they work with students to develop the skills they need to behave appropriately at school and in the community. So I really think that they deserve our respect and that we should acknowledge that work. Another accusation is that we are graduating students who fail their core classes. That's simply not true. Our schools are dedicated to holding students to high expectations while providing the scaffolding they need to succeed. That's what education is about, and I know our educators are doing that every day in our schools. So a big thank you to them. There's been some criticism of increasing teacher salaries, and I want to say it is critical that our teachers and staff are paid fairly. They are doing some of the most important work we can ask of someone by helping develop those who will lead us in the future. Regarding Governor Pillen's education bill, it's important to understand that the issue is more complicated and nuanced than has been presented recently in the news and this evening by many of our community members. Something I would like my neighbors to understand and our board to keep in mind when considering the proposed budget is that Norfolk Public Schools will receive about $500,000 less in state aid than last year due to other changes that have occurred. For example, through the Nebraska State Equity and Educational Opportunity Support Act. And it's also important to understand that this bill addresses primarily larger districts whose levy cannot meet their funding needs. It does not provide our district the funding necessary to reduce our levy and accomplish what is needed here locally. We heard some things about the middle school. The middle school building project is needed to accommodate, as we've heard, student enrollment growth, and I love seeing growth in our schools. We should celebrate that. We also need to take care of those students. Student safety has to be a top priority. And fine arts needs are important as well. When we postpone needed building modifications, it results in higher costs in the future. We need to make continual improvements for the safety and academic success of our students while protecting us from future expenditures. And I want to come back to that fine arts bit. It's been suggested that we tighten the budget by cutting programs. And I think we should understand that multiple research studies support the notion that students who engage in the study of arts perform better in math, reading, and writing. For example, the Arts Educational Partnership performed a meta-analysis of 62 studies that revealed that students who study music have increased achievement and proficiency in math. So if we're concerned about our students' academic success in math, we need to also support these music programs, and that's part of what's proposed. So as you consider this, I know it's a difficult decision to make, but I hope that you will support the proposed budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I'm Cammie Riley from Norfolk, Nebraska. Wasn't going to get up and speak, but I really struggled with the last few comments because I think I'm really tired of the division, guys. Really tired of it. Nobody here is saying we don't need a new middle school. You know, we're not saying that. We're not saying we don't want teachers paid more. You're paying them too much. No, absolutely not. That's not what these people are saying. At least I know my husband and I aren't saying that, and I don't believe the others that spoke about the budget are saying that either. So I hope that the teachers and the gentleman from the middle school that spoke, I don't want them to feel like we're on the other side. We're not. I don't like division, guys. I don't like it. And when people come up here and say, you know, well, the last person spoke and there was some falsehood. They didn't say the truth. Guys, come on. We all speak the truth that we know, right? So let's stop accusing other speakers and attacking other speakers. Let us just say what we want to say. We have our reasons to say it, okay? And let's just stop all this back and forth attack. And that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Cameron. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? She's like, no, I'm just leaving. Okay, Beth. Beth would like to say something.
So I just want to briefly address the state funding. Nebraska was like number 47 or 48th out of 50 in state funding for public education up until this bill was just passed, Governor Pillen's plan for education. And, you know, it's been widely spread around how every student, every school district is receiving $1,500 per student in new state aid. And that's great, but what is not really being spread is that for the larger districts like Norfolk Public Schools, who are not able to levy enough to meet our educational budget, and we rely on TIOSA funding from the state, we are actually going to be receiving less funding this next school year than we did last year. So we are not one of those districts that, you know, is presumably getting so much more in state funding that we're going to be able to lower our property tax ask. So I just want to make that clear to everybody because, yes, the article that was in the paper, it doesn't talk about the funding that our district is receiving. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Beth. Is there anybody else before we close this budget hearing?
I just have a quick question.
Yes. Good question, Peggy. Okay.
I will answer the question, but we shouldn't do this way. We have budgeted about 1.2, almost 1.3 million in ESSER fundings. That is the remaining that we have left, and that has to be expended by September of '24.
Okay, we are going to adjourn the Board of Education budget hearing. We'll go on to the next, and then we'll take a break, okay? That was a yes? Okay. Okay, so this meeting was to start at 6, but we went a little long. It is at the conclusion of the budget hearing, and now we are doing the budget, what's it called? The tax hearing, sorry. So we need to do roll call once again.
Terry Bauer, are you still here?
Present.
Cindy Booth,
Present.
Brenda Carhart,
Present.
Lindsay Dixon,
Present.
Beth Shashikant,
Present.
Sandy Wolf.
Present.
All members are present. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. This is a legal meeting of the Board of Education as advertised by the means specified in board policy. A complete copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the boardroom for your review. A copy of the agenda is available at the desk of the recording secretary. We will now discuss, consider, and receive input on the 2023-2024 tax request. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you for staying for the local tax request hearing for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. The purpose of this hearing is to give taxpayers the opportunity to provide support, opposition, criticism, suggestions, or observations regarding the proposed tax request. This hearing is only for items related to the tax request. A joint public hearing will also be held on September 21st at 6 p.m. at the Lifelong Learning Center. At this time, I will provide a brief review of tax requests, which were previously shared in detail during our board workshop. Then the board will provide the opportunity for public input. Official action and voting on the tax resolution will occur on September 28th, not this evening. As I said earlier, our goal is to provide outstanding educational opportunities for our students while minimizing the financial tax impact on our patrons. Although we have seen large increases in our property tax valuations this year, Norfolk Public Schools does not need to access all of that growth. We are choosing to utilize a portion of our cash reserves to lower the amount of taxes requested. There is a whole bunch of information I legally have to go through, so bear with me. Norfolk Public Schools, or Madison County School District 59-0002, is proposing the following tax request. $1 levy for the general fund, netting $33,750,141. 5 cents levy for the special building fund, netting $1,687,660. $2.33 for the QC-Puff fund, netting $786,465, giving us a total tax levy of $1,733, netting $36,227,266. The total assessed value of the property differs from last year's assessed value by 10%. The tax rate, which would levy the same amount of property taxes as last year, when multiplied by the new total assessed value of property, would be 0.983617 cents per $100 of assessed value. However, Norfolk Public Schools proposes to adopt a property tax request that will cause its tax rate to be $1.733 per $100 of assessed value. This is a reduction of 0.4733 cents from the current tax rate of assessed value of $1.78131. Based on the proposed property tax request and changes in other revenue, the total operating budget for all funds of Norfolk Public Schools will be less than last year's operating budget of all funds by 0.77%. To be clear, our operating budget asking are increasing, but the overall budget number that we are required to report publicly and to the state is decreasing. The amount of taxes requested will increase by 9.1%. That amount would be 4.1% without the special building fund levy. In terms of the property tax lids and limitations set by state statute, we meet the budget authority lid, the levy lid, and the cash reserve lid. However, due to our 5-cent building levy, we would not meet the property tax lid or growth limitation. It may be possible for us to stay under the property tax lid and growth limitation if we did the building fund. However, we do not have enough funds to complete the middle school addition without this levy. Based upon our architect's estimates, we need to save an additional $2.1 million via our building fund. By levying 5 cents to the building fund this year, we would yield $1,670,783, leaving us a deficit of $419,218 and a need for only a 1.5 cent building fund for 2024-2025. This middle school addition is necessary for us to meet student enrollment, safety, and fine arts needs. This 5-cent levy would cost our taxpayers $50 on a $100,000 house, and an amount is only needed for 1 year. To obtain more information regarding the proposed increase in property taxes, you can contact me at the information on the screen. At this point, we will open up the hearing to questions, comments, and constructive feedback.
If I'm the only one. Thank you for that presentation. Again, I would refer to my folder here on pork systems. The school system, as well as is the same as our federal government. They will continue to request money to support their agenda. I didn't educate, the community educated my children, my 3 sons in this school system. But there comes a point when the request for wants over real needs comes into question, and that's where we're at with this budget. There is a want and a need, and we had presentation back here. There were questions on security. Has anyone ever asked somebody like me? I have gray hair. Am I employed? I tell people I'm unemployed. Nobody has ever asked me to come to the middle school. You have a security issue? Ask me. I am licensed. I will help you. Nobody has ever asked me. And you want more money from this, from the taxpayers, and it's asinine. We can't afford this as retired people in this community. There are thousands in these households. My taxes my evaluation went up 8%. Did my wage go up that? No. My wage is every month from the government, who have confiscated my wage since the day I started working. And they tell me what they will give me in return, minus my health cost. We cannot afford this. And this Board of Education is to make a decision for people like me. I want the children educated as well. I have grandchildren in this community. I want them educated. But we don't need to keep spending money. We remodel these buildings all of the time from the Norfolk public school system to have fancy windows and whatever else they need. You don't need that. I said I was educated in a one-room schoolhouse, clapboard siding with an outhouse. You do not need the best of best to educate your children. All you need is dedicated teachers. You want security? Ask Grandpa. I will be there. You do not need to keep putting a burden, a financial burden upon us. And that's what I'm asking you. Do not. You've been given money. You don't need more than what you've been given. And that's all I request. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod.
Okay, Francavilla. I just wanted to piggyback on what Steve Sunderman had said, because that was one of my questions when I saw that quite a bit of the increase was going to be, was being asked for the middle school. I didn't understand why, generally speaking, when you're doing a large building construction of that nature, it is not done through the general fund. That's highly unusual, quite frankly. Usually those sorts of things are done through a bond issue. And as a taxpayer, I think that that would be the more appropriate way to fund the middle school. I think we have heard pretty convincing evidence that the middle school does have some needs, but I think the taxpayers should be making that decision about whether to add to it, improve it, whatever. And I think also that there were some comments made that maybe we need to get even more creative about relieving some of those problems at the middle school. For example, we know that the senior high, their swim team uses the YMCA. They've got an arrangement. Why could we not possibly look to a partnership, another partnership with the YMCA for using some of their, they have wonderful space during the day that perhaps the band students, whatever, could use, just throwing that out. But mainly my main comment is that I really think that the middle school issue should be done through a bond issue.
Can I address that?
Thank you, Kay. Please.
I just wanted to talk about that issue about using, going through a bond issue versus using special building fund, because there's two different sides to that, and I think both are important. First of all, we wouldn't use the general fund to do the middle school project. It would come out of the special building fund because it is a new building construction. It has to be out of a building fund. If we did a bond issue, the bond money would go in the building fund. That was what you have to use. But the two different aspects are, you say you would like to do a bond issue so that the public can vote on whether or not we do the project, which I see that side of it. The other side is that when you do a bond issue, you incur lots of additional fees from the bonding company and from banks for interest on borrowing that money. So the district here has chosen over the past several years to try to save the money first through the building fund so that we do not have to incur those additional fees. We have seen it as a way to save taxpayers money. If that is not the way the taxpayers see it, then we can consider something different in the future. But that has been our goal, is to keep those costs out of our building projects.
Would anybody else like to get up and speak?
I just have a question. We had a meeting, I believe last month, where you bought a small plot of property across the street for parking. Has that purchase been made? Okay. I don't know how much that is. But every time we purchase a property, anytime any government entity purchases property, it takes it off the tax rolls. And I know the college purchased some things, some properties along Benjamin Avenue. So every time that happens, a government entity takes that over, then there's no tax revenue coming from that. So then it falls on the rest of us who do own property. So that's another thought too. Maybe if we can sell some property, we would reap the benefits from the sale as well as put it back on the tax rolls. Just a thought.
Thank you, Peggy.
Appreciate the additional time to give some feedback. I guess in terms of, I mentioned transparency in my previous comments, and this goes to, I guess, the school board administration, but as well as the different media sources in the room. Too often when we talk about these things, we report what the tax levy does, right? We're talking about a 0.5 cent decrease in tax levy. And then when I get my property tax bill, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm paying X, increase. How can that be? The tax levy went down. Well, us in the room that know how this works, right, it falls on what the valuation also does. And so I just really push for you guys in terms of transparency, be publicizing this as a % increase of your budget, 9.1%. Now, you can argue if that's too high or too low. I think it's probably a little bit too high. But be pushing that. Don't be, trying to publicize it as a tax levy decrease. I just think that comes off as disingenuous, and it goes against trying to get people to support what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on our tax hearing?
I just think we need to look into our budget and look and see where we can save money. Now, I don't know how much this middle school project is, because that's not anywhere.
We are purposely not saying the amount of the project because it hasn't been bid on, and we don't want to skew the bids. I mean, we don't know how much it will be, but we don't want contractors to inflate their bids, if that makes sense.
So you're asking for $1.6 million. I think that's what it costs to do it.
Yeah, that is not what it costs.
So just so you understand where John Q. Public's mind is going, and we have $8 million in a special building fund. Are we using all that money for this project?
Some of that is already allocated to other projects, but then the large majority of that would go to the middle school project.
And that
yes.
would be how much?
If I tell you that amount and also the amount we think it'll increase, that would tell contractors exactly what.
But you're asking the public to guess and pay the taxes for it. Let's
We
figure it
believe
out.
it will be $8 million.
Okay, then you have $8 million in your project. Use that money, lower the levy, and save all the taxpayers some money.
No, we can't use all of that building fund money. Some of it has already been allocated. We need some additional in order to do the complete project.
Thank you, Rich. Anybody else?
Jan Haberman. Okay, I was trying to recall, what is the amount that you have in a reserve fund in the budget? Can anyone answer that to me?
I don't know what that number is, but I do know that we need to keep 3 months of expenditures available in case something odd should happen, and that's roughly $12 million, $4 million a month. So that's what we always keep ready to go.
Okay,
Because
well, all right, that increase that you want to go over the bond, you know, so you have this, you want more money, this, what percentage? 0.5? It is supposed to be 1 million some dollars? In the grand scheme of all the budget, there must be some place you can get that money and not increase the tax levy when it's already been increased because of increased evaluation of our property, the property valuation. And then I look, you know, I'm not trying to be catty, but many of those who've been speaking are not, most of us are not, most of those who have spoke are not in a fixed income or on the poverty level. Both of these, this is where my concern is. We're asking many people to say, you might be poverty, but you're still getting the increase of taxes. I know. I own a piece of property that I rent out. I automatically will say, hey folks, I'm sorry, your property your rent is going up because of property tax increase. That's a no-brainer for any businessman. And you people are all educated, and the school, even all the school teachers. I was a school teacher. I had money then. Now that I'm retired, it's a whole different story. And I have a lot of things I want to do that I plan to do with my retirement. I'm looking forward to spending time with my grandkids, going places. I really don't want to pay it to taxes because I wasn't planning on that. I have to go into my retirement funds to get this. And I really hear others saying, can you please reduce it or not increase that value, the property tax again? We've had it was 6.2 last year, 17 or 4, oh, I forget, 16 something this year. Different numbers. I don't know what the correct number is anymore. But it's a big chunk, much more than last year, much more. Believe me, I saw the bill that's proposed. And we need to somehow, and then you did buy 2 pieces of property lately, one by the high school and then one for a parking lot here. And maybe that should have been thought of before you bought those. We can't just continue to have the schools buy this and that and another thing when the rest of us who are paying the bills, we're actually paying the bills, have to go, oh, I can't go out to eat today, go out to eat this evening because I have to save the money so I can pay my taxes. That's what we're thinking. How are we going to pay our taxes? It's a big issue, and I just really ask you to really think about this, because in the grand scheme, $1 million, $1 million, $2 million could be shaved somewhere, or wait to get it for some other time, and not come out of this budget. So please don't increase our taxes more. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Is there somebody else who would like to speak?
with the questions raised about transparency, I just wanted to ask Dr. Thompson, would you go back to the screen where you showed all of the details? Because I felt like it was all there and explained. And then also, I think you had a slide that said if you own a $200,000 house, right, that you would. So this is the one I think where she explained about the levy and how it compares, and it's not your valuations don't stay the same, and then with a decrease in the levy it goes down. Things are changing. So if we could see that again, and then also the slide where, yes, this one. So if you own a $200,000 house, you would pay $100 for the whole year in taxes, which comes out to about less than $8.50 a month. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that, because it sounds like some of the comments make it sound like the school's trying to bleed us dry and now we can't afford food. But if you have a $200,000 house and you're paying about $8 a month to support the schools, that's sort of different than the way it's been presented here. So if there's anything to clarify, if you go back up, I think 3 screens. I guess my point is it felt to me like there was a lot of transparency here with all of the details, and I believe that's publicly available. Is that right, Dr. Thompson? Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, with that, I don't want to hurry you, but I want to make sure everybody's said their piece. We are going to adjourn the tax hearing and take a small break, and then we will start our school board meeting. So it's 6:51, so is 9 minutes too long or too short? Is that okay? Start at 7? Start at 7? Okay, we'll be right back. And you can go too. Okay, it is 7 o'clock. The Norfolk Public School District Board of Education meeting is called to order. Roll call.
Terry Bauer.
Present.
Cindy Booth.
Present.
Brenda Carhart.
Present.
Lindsay Dixon.
Present.
Beth Shashikant.
Present.
Sandy Wolf.
Present.
All members are present. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. This is a legal meeting of the Board of Education as advertised by the means specified in board policy. A complete copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the boardroom for your review. A copy of the agenda is available at the desk of the recording secretary. I'd just like to take a moment to thank everybody for coming, for not only speaking, but to listening to other people's opinions. And so thank you for being so respectful. Thank you for being here. We are going to stand, and please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing for a brief moment of silence and recognition of Patriots' Day today. Okay, we are going to start with our presentation, special recognition, and our award for excellence. Angie Bauman.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight I get to have the honor of bringing up our first Award for Excellence recipient of the school year. And I have some great comments that were shared with me that I want to share. But first, let's bring up Mandy Dahlketter, who is first grade teacher at Woodland Park Elementary. I'll let her awkwardly stand here while I talk about her. So her nomination came from a wide variety of staff at Woodland Park. Some parents and some students also chimed in with nominations for her. So it ends up being, she hasn't seen this yet, but I think it ends up being 4 pages of nominations. So I highlighted some areas rather than read all of them. I'll let her do that and see who all had fantastic things to say about her. She is getting this plaque that I already promised her students she would bring back and show them. But some of the things that were said about Mandy, as I said, a first grade teacher at Woodland Park, is that she's an exceptional first grade teacher, amazing coworker, and an integral part of the Woodland Park Elementary community. She treats all students with kindness, dignity, respect, and holds them to high standards. As part of the Woodland Park staff, she is constantly going above and beyond her classroom duties. She has organized our monthly Sunshine Club, our after-hours events, and our birthday buddies. She has come into school each summer and oftentimes over breaks to decorate our lounge with fun themes and positive climate strategies. One of her former first grade students, which I didn't know this, is now in training to be a future elementary teacher and requested the opportunity to student teach with her at Woodland Park. She is now mentoring a former student who will no doubt go on to impact future children who will never have set foot in her room. That's pretty cool. This year, the teachers and staff of MPS were challenged to be outstanding. When I think of a teacher in my school who is outstanding, one of the first people that comes to my mind is Mandy Dahlketter. A few things that former students of hers said. I miss first grade. And I loved when she would tell jokes and be silly. She's a good teacher. So it was nice to get some student input on there as well. So there are many more wonderful things that were said about you. I have a copy of those for you. So Mandy gets her plaque. Mandy gets a $50 gift card that was donated by Hy-Vee just for her, her family. When I visited with her class, they thought maybe a class pet, maybe some playground equipment. They had some great ideas. So we'll see. I didn't know about the class pet idea, but it was a good creative idea. She will also get $500 to spend at Woodland Park Elementary, and she will work with Mr. Strong to come up with a great idea on how to best serve students and staff at her building. So congratulations, Mandy. Now's your opportunity if you would like to say anything. And Mr. Strong, if you would like to speak, come on up. You want to speak? Who wants to go first? Okay.
Okay. I'm not going to turn down an opportunity to talk about an awesome teacher. So she read a bunch of stuff I was going to talk about, so I had to put my script away, and I'm just going to wing it. So I'm not very good at winging it, so bear with me. But I'm very proud of Mandy, very, very happy that the selection committee chose her. She's a phenomenal teacher, does an excellent job. And I would say a couple things. First of all, this is pretty cool, because the last several years we've been in kind of a COVID protocols. And so our students have been eating their breakfast in the classrooms with the teachers. And so our secretary doesn't really get to see the teachers in the morning because they never are in the halls. They're always in their classroom taking care of kids. So Mrs. Granowitz, our secretary the other day, Mandy was out in the hallway greeting students like she does every morning, which Chris hasn't seen for a long time. Chris is our secretary, and Chris said, man, she's always in such a good mood, and she's always greeting everybody, and she's so happy to see the kids. That's pretty awesome. And I said, well, Chris, that's the way she's been every day since she's been here. You just haven't seen it because she's doing it in the hallway down by our classroom. So it's fun to see her now up in the gymnasium where our students are at now in the mornings, which is pretty exciting. And that's what Mandy does. If you know her, she's every single morning, she's in the hallway. Kids are walking by, hugging her, high-fiving her, telling her good morning. She's out greeting the students, which is exactly as a principal is what I want for our kids to have that experience. And that's what she does, and she provides for them. So that's pretty awesome. Along with that, she's also an excellent teacher, and I would tell you some of the things she read earlier. Mandy took it upon herself, as you all know, during our COVID the last several years, our COVID protocols, morale was down quite a bit for teachers and staff. And Mandy took it upon herself to fix that in our building. And she's really voluntarily taken on all kinds of responsibilities. She's started, well, you read them. She started a sunshine club all on her own doing, which teachers sign up for, and they do things that provide sunshine for our staff throughout the this whole school year. She's done an after hours get-togethers, birthday buddies, tons of things. She does bulletin boards all the time, which I cannot do, and she does an amazing job of it. And just showcases a lot of things that teachers do. One of her new projects she's working on now is to put all of our teachers' pictures up on the wall so that parents, when they come in, can see pictures of our teachers and know who they are. It's just something she's volunteered to do on her own, as well as getting our new library up and running. She spearheaded that committee to kind of revamp our whole library. So she does far more things with our staff than just teach, which is awesome. But I'm going to say again, she's an excellent teacher. And I'm going to finish with that. Proof that she's an excellent teacher. I've seen this happen one time before in my career, and that teacher also got an award for excellence. But you just don't see this very often. We have a student teacher in our building this year who was a student of Mandy's clear back in first grade, and I believe was at Stanton, right? And now she has come full circle, and she requested to be a student teacher with Mandy because Mandy made such an impact on her, and she wants to be just like Mandy, which is awesome. And so Mandy now has continued a legacy, not just with her own kids, but with all the kids this student teacher will now have in the future. So that speaks volumes for who she is as a person. So congratulations, Mandy.
Would you like to speak?
Can I just say something? Yeah, please do. First of all, I apologize for my voice. You know, it's lots of talking in first grade, so I'm already losing it. And Bruce's kind words made me totally forget everything I had planned to say. But I am just so humbled by the amount of people who contributed their time to write the nominations for me. Coworkers, Mr. Strong, parents, our PTO, and the students. It was so wonderful to hear those things, and I just appreciate all of them. Every staff member that I work with, every parent that I've had, their child, every kid that I have in the building, all of my drive comes from those relationships. And I also just want to say thank you to Mr. Strong for saying yes to all of my ideas, because I always walk into his office and say, oh, I got a new idea. And the majority of the time, he's all for it if I have a good plan. So I appreciate that so much. Thank you. And thank you to the committee for selecting me for this award.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Mandy, and thank you for sitting through all that you sat through before. It's a bright spot of those of us on school board. It brings some levity, so thank you. The next thing we have in order is public comments and communication, or you sneak out right now, either one, doesn't matter. This is the time during the meeting when the public may request to address the board. Thank you. According to state law, if you wish to comment, you must identify yourself, including your address, the name of the organization you represent, and the topic that you wish to address. Public comment cards are located at the media table in the back of the room. Please pick up a card and provide the required information if you plan to speak. Each individual's comments will be limited to 5 minutes. Please note that the board cannot discuss or act upon matters that are not listed on the agenda. Therefore, board members will not respond to your comments or questions. If you wish to request that an item be placed on a future board agenda, you may contact the superintendent or her assistant during normal business hours. Also note that concerns related to personnel need to be addressed to the superintendent using the approved district protocol. Individuals who make false, defamatory, or slanderous statements during public comments may be held legally liable. Slanderous comments are not protected just because they are made at board meetings. Is there anybody that would like to address the board for public comments? Okay, thank you. We are to 6.1, Finance and Facilities Report. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. The total amount of claims to be approved on the consent agenda for the month of September 2023 by specific fund are listed below. General Fund, $1,063,425.58. Nutritious Service Funds, $239,393.45. Cooperative Fund, $1,264.48. Depreciation Fund, $4,754.43. QC Puff, $59,838.05. Special Building Fund, $361,365.03. Student Fee Fund, $13,282. All of these claims were reviewed earlier today by the Finance and Facility Committee. There are no claims for the Activity Fund this month, as those were approved at our August 30th meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. 6.2 is Teaching and Learning Report. Mrs. Nelson.
Thank you, Madam President. The beginning of the year has been successful. In my visits to buildings and with teachers and principals, everyone has positively responded about the start of the year. We've had a few electronic issues which have been fortunate to be resolved quickly with our programs. And the fall map testing window for K-8 is still open. However, most classrooms have finished. The senior high fall ACT and pre-ACT testing will occur on September 20th. The planning pieces are coming together smoothly for that as well. Instructional coaching cycles have begun, and there is a Curriculum and American Civics Committee meeting scheduled to meet next Tuesday, September 19th. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Beth. 6.3 is Student Programs Report. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. Our nurses will begin their annual health screenings this month. Students in grades pre-K through 4, 7th, and 10th grade are screened annually. Our ELL teachers have screened over 72 new students based on home language surveys to determine if they qualify for ELL programming. This is determined by our ELPA screener. The Special Education Leadership Team met Tuesday, September 5th, planning professional development sessions for the school year. Mary will attend the fall conference for Nebraska Association Special Education Supervisors, NASSUS, September 14th and 15th. The focus of the conference is creating environments that cultivate positive learning or positive behavior. And just a quick update on Aero transportation for activities. It is going well. Aero has placeholders on the side of each bus that has the NPS logo to give the personalized touch for our students. The few issues that have occurred have been handled very professionally.
How many trips do you think we've done on Aero so far?
I don't know if I can answer that. I do know
Okay.
my daughter's on the volleyball team, said she liked it.
They took the vans.
No, they went to Grand Island on the charter bus. That one. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. 6.4 Student Services Report. Mr. Wilson.
Thanks again, Madam President. First couple of weeks of school, our licensed mental health practitioners provided multiple opportunities for our staff to receive suicide prevention training. It is required by law that every staff member who works with students receive a minimum of 1 hour of suicide prevention training. This week of September is also Suicide Prevention Week, and I want to remind our students, families, and community members that if you're concerned of someone hurting themselves or you yourself are struggling with thoughts of suicide, we offer anonymous reporting for all safety concerns through Safe to Help. The state provides funding and offers Safe to Help at no cost to our school district. Contact information for Safe to Help is printed on the back of every student ID card, on our student Chromebook home screens, and on every page of our website. The state also provides a suicide and crisis lifeline you can access by dialing 988. Suicide can be prevented, and we want you to know we are here to help. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Eric. 6.5 is Human Resources and Accreditation. Mrs. Baumann.
Thank you, Madam President. Half of our new NPS teachers will receive training. When I wrote this, the dates were September 14th and September 21st, but due to some activities that are taking place that day and sub-availability, those dates are being changed into October. But they will all be receiving training on the NPS instructional model in a couple of different groups to be able to handle the subs for those days. The new teachers are working hard to learn the essential concepts and strategies that will enhance learning and instruction in their classroom. Job fairs are already beginning, and Mary Laura and I traveled to UNK on Thursday for the first job fair of the year. I am recruiting for unfilled positions that we still have that we hope to hire at semester, and recruiting and networking for the 24-25 school year. Also, MPS currently has 15 student teachers in our district. I have received positive feedback from our administrators about their start to the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. 6.6 is the Superintendent's Report. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. I only have two topics this evening, Patriots Day and enrollment. First, our students across the district participated in learning activities related to Patriots Day today. Activities ranged from watching videos, reading books, and completing writing activities to singing patriotic songs, completing art projects, and sending thank you letters to first responders. Some of these activities were specific to the terrorist attacks that occurred on September 11th, 2001, while others were focused on the themes of patriotism and heroism. In terms of enrollment, our September 1st count had increased each year prior to the pandemic. It showed a major decline during the pandemic year and has risen every year since, until this year. Last year's senior class was exceptionally large. We had 358 seniors compared to our 10-year average of 338. And this year's kindergarten class is slightly smaller than normal, only 317 compared to a 10-year average of 324. The difference between that senior class and the replacing kindergarten class is 41 students and is actually larger than the overall difference in our enrollment decrease, which is 27 students. So I really don't see any reason for concern. I will provide a more comprehensive report once we have our official October 1st count.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Committee report 7.1 is Facilities and Finance Committee. Brenda Carhart.
The Finance Committee met today at noon. Mr. Wilson provided a facilities update on the junior high, Bel Air, track, and the HVAC projects we have going on. Dr. Thompson provided a business office update regarding personnel and overtime, our upcoming audit, and the Agri-City insurance review. Well, and all our insurance, also insurance associates, she talked about that too. Dr. Thompson also answered questions regarding tonight's claims, hearings, and resolution. Our next meeting is scheduled for October 9th at noon. Any questions?
When did you discuss the insurance reviews?
When we left, I said, is there anything else? And she said, oh, it was the insurance that we forgot. And she said, Agri-City came and talked. And I said, and also Insurance Associates. And she said, yeah, they came and they want to talk to us in November. That's
Yeah,
what.
I'll put it back on the agenda for October because I forgot to talk about it.
Thank you.
You're sitting there going, what? Thank you, Brenda. 7.2 is the Activities Committee report. Brenda Carhart.
Committee met at noon on September 5th. Mr. Irwin and Mrs. Lenton provided updates on participation numbers, contest results, and uniforms. We discussed how music is chosen for activities. The district utilizes a program called Neptune to help ensure music is free from copyright issues and is appropriate for our audiences. Player input is considered, but music must be available via Neptune. Potential upgrades to the high school and middle school fields were discussed, including lights, turf, and bleachers. Cost has been a prohibitive factor in the past. However, it is time to update our comprehensive facilities plan and budget. This will be discussed at a future facilities and finance meeting. Strategies to improve or increase school spirit were discussed. Our current weight program was also discussed with an emphasis on scheduling. The possibility of inviting coaches to activity committee meetings to provide program updates was also discussed, although scheduling is an issue there as well. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Monday, October 16th at noon. Any questions?
Thank you, Brenda. We are to the consent agenda items. 8.1 is the minutes of the previous meeting of August 14th and August 30th, and they are attached. Personnel, 8.2 is contract approval, and we have none. 8.3 is claims. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. Attached are the claims for the month of September 2023. These claims were reviewed earlier today by our Finance and Facilities Committee. There are no conflict statements this month.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second that motion.
We have a motion by Beth and a second by Brenda. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Callan. We are now to the action items. 9.1 is discuss, consider, and take action to approve the Memorandum of Understanding with Jobs of America's Graduates. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. I have two guest speakers for you tonight. Jessie Headland, the JAG Nebraska Expansion Manager from United Way of the Midlands. She will share background information regarding JAG and explain the proposed Memorandum of Understanding for a potential JAG program at Norfolk Public Schools starting in 2024-2025. And then Jason Settles, our Senior High Principal, will share specifics regarding the proposal implementation of JAG at the high school, including how it would benefit our students and supplement our other existing programs at Norfolk High School. Jessie, thank you for waiting so long and being so patient tonight.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I know it's been a busy Monday with a packed agenda. I'm just going to provide you all with a quick overview of JAG Nebraska. JAG is actually a national nonprofit. It was started in 1980 and has a footprint across 40 states in the United States. It was first heard of by then Governor Ricketts in about 2017, and he saw it as a potential solution to Nebraska's workforce challenges. The first program was opened in the school year of 2018 and 2019. We had 3 programs, started with the upper high school levels, so we could really track those graduation outcomes, employment outcomes, things like that. And then we've just continued to grow, keeping a balance between the metro area, eastern side of Nebraska, and then also greater Nebraska. We opened our furthest west and our smallest program in Banner County, essentially Wyoming, this year, which was very exciting. And then Governor Pillen, when he was sworn in the office, he heard about the program and again agreed with Governor Ricketts and saw it as a solution to Nebraska's workforce development and challenged the team to serve 12,000 students. We opened up 10 programs for this school year for a total of 34 programs serving 1,000 students. So we have a lot of growth to do, and we hope to grow by 38 to 43 programs until 2030. We're at about 25 for the 24-25 school year and looking to add Norfolk Public Schools. We're really excited about it. So what is JAG? JAG is a class that students take as part of their regular school day. It's endorsed by the Nebraska Department of Education. It's a CTE elective, and the specialists that teach that class have a JAG endorsement. In that class, students are learning workforce development, academic, and ultimately employability skills that will lead them to be successful in their later lives. We have programs that start as young as middle school, and those students are getting prepared for success in high school. And then those older students are really exploring careers and participating in employer engagement activities. We collaborate with existing programs at schools. So if there's an employer that is a great partner already, we'd love to bring them into the classroom or bring students who are interested in that industry to that employer to have a hands-on experience. Once a student has identified a career pathway, their JAG specialist will work with them to create goals and milestones to achieve that success. I know Norfolk Public Schools, you all have a fantastic Career Academies program. And so of course our specialists would work closely with those teachers and help bring, funnel students into those academies should they express interest. We're really proud of the outcomes that we've seen in JAG Nebraska. JAG National has set standards, and we're excited to say that every year our JAG Nebraska students have exceeded the standards in graduation, connectivity, full-time employment, positive life outcomes, and continuing education. Who teaches a JAG class? We never want to poach a teacher from your school district. I've heard there's a teacher shortage in the state. I'm not sure if you all are aware of that. We have specialists that work for United Way of the Midlands. They're employed full-time by us, recruited by our fabulous HR team, and then pre-screened. And then once we select the top 2 to 3 candidates, they're sent to you all, whoever the administration chooses, for that final interview. And eventually, whoever you all pick and think will be a great fit for your school is who would get selected. They will be a full-time employee of JAG Nebraska under the umbrella of United Way of the Midlands. They would be onboarded this summer before their school started, and then start on that first day of new teacher orientation. And from then, they're fully embedded into the school. They have the same report times as other teachers. They teach a full class schedule. They can take on an additional duty such as study hall, lunch duty, things like that. Really, from the outside looking in, they would appear to be a Norfolk Public Schools employee. All of our teachers are certified through the Nebraska Department of Education with that JAG endorsement. About 50% come from former teaching backgrounds, and the other 50% have a bachelor's degree in relevant youth development work experience. What we ask of the district, it's very exciting, especially on budget review night, to say that the first 2 years of JAG Nebraska are of no cost to the district. And at the 3rd year of programming, we ask for a $10,000 contribution per full-time specialist. In addition, we also ask for coverage for up to 10 sub-days, and then also transportation to the employer engagement experiences. Some of your students will have the opportunity to attend state conferences in Omaha, so help with transportation for things like that as well. What else? I guess in summary, JAG students they're mastering academic and employability skills. They're practicing their leadership, their interpersonal communication, community engagement, and ultimately producing outcomes that lead to successful lives. Any questions?
So you said the first 2 years are no cost to the district. Does that include the field trip funding? So
No cost for the program. The program is about $85,000, and then we just ask for those in-kind donations. The MOU that's in front of you, we really call that a template. We never want anything to be a barrier that would prevent students from receiving services. So we can work closely with Dr. Thompson if there's any revisions requested.
And then just out of curiosity, and not saying this would happen, but you know, if we did approve it and we went through it for a year and then we were like, nope, sorry, it's not working. We are just out with no like financial liability or anything.
Correct. The MOU is renewed on an annual basis. So when you sign that, you're signing on for a year, and then next year I'll send you the same one. And we're proud to say we haven't lost a program yet. So hopefully we continue on that road.
Thank you.
My question is, I guess maybe for here is, how are we limiting the students that can take the classes with only one instructor and that many students?
Yeah, we have a list of different criteria that we look at. Part of the implementation process is coming to the school and speaking to all the faculty and asking them who they think they, would be a good fit. One full-time specialist can serve up to 60 students, but if you're seeing a need, next year, or I guess in 2 years, we could certainly look at adding an additional specialist. What we see is most schools start with one, and then as students start to hear of the program, they might need to bring on a second. We really like students to elect into the class. There's a lot of project-based learning, group activities that just don't work well if a student is not actively engaged. So that first year, keeping it, those 60 students is really helpful to be able to start the program.
Good question, Lindsay.
Is it a semester or a yearly class?
It's a year-long curriculum, but the program is really customizable, so we do have some districts that offer it for a semester.
If you want to stay up here, but have Mr. Settles come and talk a little bit about how he sees it fitting in the high school, and then we can see if the board has additional questions when he's finished.
Thank you, Jesse. So thank you, everybody, for hearing from us this evening. I'm Jason Settles. I'm principal here at Norfolk High School. We're very excited to be teaming with Jobs for American Graduates with support of United Way of the Midlands. One of the first things that we always consider when we're looking for any opportunity for our students is just how do anybody we're going to partner with fit with our vision. Obviously, we are very concerned with getting our students ready and preparing them with career and college ready skills, which is exactly what JAG prepares students to do. We also see very commonly that the program is elective for our students, which leads to a higher level of commitment. Most of our programming that we provide for students, whether that's elective or alternative in nature, is voluntary, which makes us unique, but also a good partner for JAG. And so that fits in very well with what we're doing too. So we really see this as an opportunity for us that probably has a lot of unperceived positives, but there's at least 3 or 4 that we can see right now. Number one, we really want to help to focus with our younger students on these career and college ready skills, or what the JAG program refers to as competencies. So we are trying to do that not only with our freshman and sophomore forums and seminars and that career and college readiness and that character education to build those soft skills, but we feel that there are also students at that 9th and 10th grade level that we would identify as needing additional support in those areas. We really feel like JAG can do that. When we talked about the selection process for that, that's one of the things that we talked a lot about in our meeting, and we have a lot of the same criteria. We already have committees in place that this specialist could join that would help us make decisions about what students would be good for this program, what would benefit from it. And so we certainly see that as something that would do well. If you look at some of the materials and resources that the program brings with it, not only is that from a human resources perspective, as in a staff member that can help us in a lot of different ways, but also the resources that come from the state of Nebraska and United Lands, or United Lands of United Way, or excuse me, Midlands. But just those opportunities for resources to expand on other programs that we already have. In many cases, when we have people that are working to get kids ready for college, when we're working to get them ready for the career force, we're finding those resources on our own. So anytime that we can go with a partner that has these things already developed for us, that can help teach these to other staff members or provide them for us, especially in a way that's fiscally responsible, obviously that's very positive for us. And then finally, as Jesse spoke about, we do have a Career Academies program that we're always looking to improve, and we know that teaming with the resources from the Nebraska Department of Education and United Way of the Midlands, we know that that provides us with a lot of community resources that would help us with these work-based experiences and work-based learning that we're trying to build in those academies. And so once again, we have those things, but we're always looking to improve and build on those things, and we know that JAG can help us with that. So we're really excited about this opportunity, and I thank Jesse for being here.
I have just a couple of things. I really see this as an opportunity to hit some of those life skills that we hear our community members ask us about. Being a successful employee, communication, responsibility, problem solving, budgeting. Those are all skills that are listed on the competency list, as well as other skills that are identified by business and industry leaders. The other thing I'd like to address is that we do have a dedicated funding source at the Norfolk Public Schools Foundation that can be used to cover costs related to careers, and this obviously would fit within that realm. So that could easily cover that $10,000 cost for the instructor and any other costs that we would incur. And I also know of several other community funding sources that I think would be available to us. So I really don't see this as being any real cost to the district, even when we do incur some down the road.
Do we have a room available for this one?
That's the million-dollar question.
We would be able to provide space. We have one area that right now is used part-time, so we could allocate that space. So yes, right now we do. So
What's the criteria for a student to be eligible to do this, or how do you find each other?
Jesse, do you want to speak about that, and then I can kind of fill in what we already have in place as well?
Absolutely. There's really it's a very generous criteria list, ranging from things like immaturity, to needing some social skills, to needing to explore careers. I know when I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do besides be on Grey's Anatomy, and not a great career choice. So really for any of those kids who are just looking to explore careers, or maybe they know what they want to do, but they're not quite sure how to get themselves there, that's where we really lean on folks at the school to identify those students. So that first phase of implementation is us coming out, speaking to the faculty, then the faculty identifying students that might benefit, inviting them to come and hear from us. We would come, during a lunch period or something like that, and then just speaking to the students and really talking about the employer engagement as well as the project-based learning that they'd be able to participate in. I think that's it. I don't know. You have anything else, Mr. Settles?
Yeah.
So is a teacher referring them to the program, or can a student come to you and say, I'd like to be in the JAG program?
We foresee this specialist joining a few of our already existing teams. So we already have a committee in place that helps to identify students that may be interested or in need in additional support in these areas. That would include all of our guidance counselors, all of our building administrators, our school licensed mental health professional if necessary, if those things are being considered, and then always our alternative educators and guidance counselors as well. Those teams are already actively engaged in identifying students that may need additional support in these areas, primarily mentorship or other academic or experiential opportunities, and so we have that. Certainly we have the SAP process student assistance team that is a collection of teachers, administrators, guidance counselors that may identify students on an individual basis and may make a recommendation for this program as well. So we just see this specialist being able to join those already existing committees or teams to make these recommendations.
Sounds good. Sounds like a good program.
It says in here a minimum of 45 students. Do you foresee having at least that many who would be interested in doing it, just to meet the minimum?
I don't have any concerns in meeting that number. Yeah, we'll definitely be able to fill the program.
I have a couple of concerns. When you're talking, you would have the space now. We've just listened to the need for space and how this has become a problem in our middle school. If you're bringing in another program and it's going to be successful and it's going to continue to attract more and more students, is that going to again create a problem for us in the future that we're going to need more space, and then we're going to be trying to deal with that issue again? So, and also, even though it's, paid for the first couple of years, and you did mention you could have some foundation resources, again, that's just, my concern is that we're just expanding, and we have to really just be careful of that. That's my concern.
Thank you. As far as space is concerned, once again, we do have the one room available. I don't think that would really necessitate any major changes. There are always things that right now we can do at the high school in order to find space. Once again, I know that right now we would plan for this specialist to be in the classroom right around 5 to 6 periods a day, just because they're required to have 2 open periods to do data analysis and then 1 period for mentorship. They certainly need a lunch as well. So those would be times 2. So we're looking at someone that may not necessarily be in the classroom a full 6 periods. So there are some things that we could flex or do in order to accommodate this. As far as future needs in space, I would only speak to that just as anybody in the district would, which is that we will analyze our enrollment and make adjustments as necessary. As far as the cost, we talked about that extensively. Once again, I know that we'll evaluate this program rigorously over the first 2 years while it's of no cost to the district, and we'll make a good decision going forward. Once again, one of the reasons why we have identified this program is just because of the way that we can finance it and the fact that even when the costs are incurred, it's far less expensive than many other programs that would be made available to us that offer this level of service to our students.
Some of the JAG statistics are pretty impressive, and maybe you can add on to these. The ones that I have are mainly due to outcomes after graduation, but students who are part of JAG are 2.3 times more likely to be employed full-time than students who are not part of the program. They're projected to earn 20% more than those who do not. They're 15% more likely to own a home, and they're half as likely as non-graduates to be at risk for poverty. So you're making a real difference for some students with this program.
Well, my question would be, but if you're picking all your top students, we don't know where this, we don't know. You could be picking to be in the JAG program the kids who are going to be successful anyway. I don't know, just a thought.
That's typically not the case. They try to get a very well-rounded, it's part of the agreement that you try to have well-rounded representation within the program.
That was my question. Yeah.
I'd like to know how it's being graded.
Once again, the core competencies of the course are provided, just like any other curricula. Once again, that curricula is accepted by the Nebraska Department of Education, so those standards are developed. We would have it go through our processes for developing curriculum and develop those systems of, putting forth those standards and then discussing how they be graded. But it would be graded just as any other class based upon the standards that are presented by the course and adopted by the Nebraska Department of Education.
more if you'd like. Our students participate in project-based learning, so for each unit, there's a driving question, and the students are asked to produce, depending on the unit, 1 to 3 public products to answer that driving question, and that's usually how the specialist will assign their grade, as well as other in-class activities, progress towards their goals, and things like that.
Is your specialist familiar with the target-based grading on how to grade based on that, or would that be involved in this?
No, because it's a senior high course.
Thank you. Okay.
Anyone else? Really great questions.
I do, I agree. I think it sounds wonderful. I think it's a great place at Norfolk Public Schools. I love it that Mr. Suttles is on board and has looked at this, and now I hope our board can get on board as well. Our board on board?
I agree. I think it addresses a lot of issues that I have heard other board members talk about, you know, our students leaving with communication skills, job skills, that type of thing. I think it sounds like a great program.
I have folders packed full of information too for each of you if you're interested.
Sure. Are there any other questions for Jesse or Jason?
Do you offer it to adults that might need it?
What was that question? Offer to adults that might need it? I wish. Still in that Grey's Anatomy phase.
Okay, thank you, Jesse and Jason.
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with Jobs for American Graduates JAG program.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Terry and a second by Beth. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Callan. 9.2, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the 2023-2024 Emergency Operations Plan. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. Every year, I make sure that all of our confidential emergency contact information and building maps are updated for our building administrators. This information, along with our emergency procedures, is compiled in our Emergency Operations Plan. That was developed with the help of local law enforcement, emergency management, and Norfolk Public Schools staff. I've shared the updated information with our boards, and I'm asking for approval for the 23-24 EOP.
Make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 Emergency Operations Plan.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Brenda and a second by Lindsay. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Callan. 9.3, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the attached property tax authority resolution resulting in a 1.1 increase to the Norfolk Public Schools property tax request authority. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. In compliance with the provisions of Section 5 of the 2023 Nebraska Revised Statute 243, it is necessary for the Board of Education to vote to approve an increase to the school district's property tax request authority by 1.1%. As discussed earlier in our tax hearing, this additional tax authority is necessary in order for us to levy 5 cents to the special building fund for the purpose of completing an addition and renovation to the Norfolk Middle School. If approved, this renovation will include a safe and secure entrance, additional classrooms, and larger band, orchestra, and vocal music rooms. The district has saved several $1 million over the last several years via the special building fund and depreciation. However, our architect has estimated that we need to save an additional $2.1 million in order to fully fund this project. This 5-cent levy would net $1,670,783 towards that project, meaning that additional $429,217 would need to be collected via the building fund next year. State statute allows us to exceed our property tax authority of 4.23% by an additional 5%. However, I am only recommending that the board approve a 1.1% increase. This would allow us to save the money necessary to complete the middle school addition and renovation and still reduce our tax levy by basically 0.047, about a half a cent. And now, if you'll bear with me, I have to read the entire resolution, which states, whereas the Nebraska legislature enacted several measures this past legislative session, including LB 243, to adjust public school district revenue and finances, and whereas LB 243 generally limits a public school district's property tax request authority subject to limited exceptions, and whereas LB 243 includes an exception to generally allow a school district to otherwise exceed the default property tax request authority if at least 70% of the Board of Education votes in favor of the increased request, and whereas a Board of Education of a school district with an average daily membership of more than 3,044 students, but no more than 10,000 students, may increase its tax request by up to an additional 5% above the base growth percentage, and whereas the average daily membership of the Madison County School District number 59-0002, aka Norfolk Public Schools, is more than 3,044 students, but no more than 10,000 students, and whereas due to the increasing costs, student and staffing needs, and the need to maintain its budgetary obligations, the Board of Education and the school district hereby desires to increase its base growth percentage by up to an additional 1.1%. And whereas the public notice of this possible increase was published in a legal newspaper of general circulation in the school district at least 1 week prior to the board meeting. The proposed property tax request is $36,267,266. The total assessed value of property differs from last year's total assessed value by 10%. The tax rate, which would levy the same amount of property taxes as last year, when multiplied by the new total assessed value of property, would be 0.983617 per $100 of assessed value. The Norfolk Public Schools proposes to adopt a property tax request that will cause its tax rate to be 1.0733 per $100 of assessed value. Based on the proposed property tax request and the changes in other revenue, the total operating budget of Norfolk Public Schools will increase last year's budget by 2.68%. And then I think I read the last after the vote.
I make a motion to approve the attached Property Tax Authority resolution resulting in a 1.1% increase to the NPS Property Tax Request Authority.
I will second that motion.
We have a motion by Beth and a second by Brenda. Is there discussion?
I think all of us sitting up here have been to the middle school and have said at different points in time that the addition is really needed. It is desperately needed over there. Putting it off is just going to increase the costs. You know, costs go up every year for construction, building materials, all that kind of stuff. So
I am not against the students are moving forward with the facility needs. When we first started discussing this in February, there was nothing that was given to the board that we were going to be over our lid. So now they're asking us to approve 1.1% in addition. That was never brought to the table to us. So I just, approving the budget and tax requests is one of the main duties of the board, and I have to take that very seriously.
I want to clarify that in February, this law was not in place, so there was no lid that we would need to exceed. That's why it was not discussed at that time.
Thank you.
This new law was put in place after they made the education fund, and they were, in my opinion, the goal of it was to take, when they gave $1,500, is that what it is, per student, to a lot of schools that had never received it before. They did not want them to take that money and still raise their levy, where in our case, as Beth said earlier, we've actually lost $500,000 for something, to be exact, not quite 500,000. When we were given this money, we had TIOSA money before, and so we are not on an even playing field. I know the governor is trying to do great things for all schools, but we are not one of the schools that is ending up ahead. We are actually $500,000 behind where we were last year.
Does the budget show the SPED money that we're supposed to be getting in? Have you disclosed that on there?
We talked about that at length, and the amount of the SPED money is very uncertain. We have heard ranges from $500,000 to $2 million. So rather than putting that on the SPED money, what we have chosen to do is allocate $1.6 million worth of cash reserves so that we have a specific number to work from. If the special ed money comes in high, then hopefully we won't have to use those cash reserves.
Okay, that makes sense. So we're really not sure that we're $500,000 short.
Yeah, we don't know for sure what that will be. We are $433,000 short on TIOSA, the equalization funding from last year. Whether we get additional SPED to make up that or not remains to be seen. Hopefully, it will be above that.
Just making it clear that we're probably not going to be short on that, you know, with Sandy saying that. Need to be careful because we don't know that for sure. I mean, based upon the numbers that we do have, but we don't have all of our numbers in there because SPED has not been factored in. So the public needs to know that we're not taken away from the district by approving or not approving this 1.1%.
Right. The accurate statement would be we're short $433,000
Yeah, it's
in
not 500.
TIOSA
Right now, we're short,
equalization
yeah.
funding.
Terry, we are $430,000 short in TIOSA right now. Thank you for that correction.
I have a comment. Most of you know that I am a retired music teacher, and I have taught at the middle school. I've subbed at the middle school. I've taught music my entire career, so I have an awesome love for that. That being said, based on the crying out of our taxpayers, I cannot, in good conscience, feel good about raising this tax levy at this time. I think we can come up with some creative ways of financing, perhaps maybe remodeling and not including the second-story building, and maybe come up with some creative ways to work around the situation with the fine arts. But that's how I feel. Thank you.
Safe and secure is everybody's primary concern. You know, you need to look at the high school. When you walk in there, you buzz, you go in, you're right inside. They've got somebody sitting up at the front that supervises that, and that's probably a lot cheaper than $9 million to secure the front.
Remodeling can't create space. So, you know, the talk about remodeling the office space that's currently on the first floor, you know, is dependent on having additional space to move the offices and that safe and secure entrance into. And I just want to say that, you know, because I'm in favor of this and I'm in favor of this middle school renovation, doesn't mean I don't care about the taxpayers, doesn't mean I don't keep fiscal responsibility in mind. This is something that needs to be done. It is cheaper to do it now than putting it off, you know, for a couple of years. So just because I'm in favor of this doesn't mean I don't care about our taxpayers. I am a taxpayer too.
I think that brings up a great point. I am very much in favor of the expansion. I think it's very unfair to ask the taxpayers to have their taxes raised again. Their assessed values the last 2 years have gone through the roof. They're paying extraordinary, including all of us sitting up here, for real estate taxes. So I do think that we'll come together and come to some terms with getting something done at the middle school, but we're not going to put it. If we're going to have the taxpayers pay for it, we need to put it on a bond if we can't pay for it out of our budget. My opinion. Thank you.
And that's what we all have opinions. We're trying to work together. One thing I do think is interesting is a lot of time as we've been listening to our patrons talk about how their taxes have gone up, that was your assessed valuation. We don't do the assessed valuation. Those things that your home appreciated and you were assessed more, that's not on the school. That was what happens in life. So, I mean, I am very fiscally responsible, but we weren't the ones that assessed the properties that went up.
Sandy, I think that's probably what we've heard from the people that have come in tonight, that they've already been assessed, so you're really not, we're not doing them any favors. Everybody in this room is paying high real estate taxes.
And since we're assessed more on our houses, are we not receiving more from that through the levy?
We take the assessed value times the levy to get the amount of the actual taxes. So it depends on what the levy is that we set.
I'm in favor of the 5 cents to the building fund because I do believe that it is fiscally responsible for the school to finish the project. We already have much money in our building fund set aside, which isn't doing us any good right now because it's in the building fund and it can only be used for buildings. It can't be used for salaries or other things. So I think means we have that money there. We need to finish it, finish the school, take the money this year, finish the school because it will be cheaper to do it this year than if we put it off and put it off. The problem of it being safe and secure is not going to go away. The problem of the arts being crowded is not going to go away. So I think we need to address the problem now when things will be cheaper. And then after we collect the money, pay it off with no interest or bond fees, then it'll be done. And then we can lower our building fund back down and also have a good school. I also feel that I voted for the $400,000 for the softball complex. I supported the activities, the sports, that I also need to support the arts. And that's why I feel that we need bigger rooms for the band to do them justice to, the band, the music, the choir.
I don't think it's not about supporting it. It's about not asking for more money. We have $9 million. We can probably make some corrections at the middle school with money that we already have.
I agree with Terry on that. I think the money's there, we just need to budget it properly. And I'm not fully convinced it's being done properly yet.
Cindy, I'm not sure I fully answered your question earlier. If the 5 cents is approved for the special building fund, the task asking would go up 9.1%. If it is not approved, it would go up 4.1%. Does that answer your question better?
Understanding is the 1% can't change because we need that just to cover salaries and to run our school. And then the 0.233 can't change because that is to pay back loans. So the only wiggle room we have is the building fund going forward in our budget.
If there is no more discussion, please vote.
Motion failed, 3-3.
Thank you, Callan.
Doug Lewis and I will go back to the drawing board to see if there is any way to carve out some money for the special building fund without exceeding that property tax request authority. If that is possible, then we'll need to hold another finance and facilities meeting before September 28th to study that option. If it is not possible, then I would bring forward the other option that we shared tonight, which is doing $1 to the general fund and 2.33 cents to QC Puff.
Thank you for that clarification, Dr. Thompson. 9.4 is discuss, consider, and take action to approve the resignation of Carla Miles effective January 2nd, 2024, pending a suitable replacement. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. Carla Miles' husband has been relocated to Georgia by Nucor and has already moved. Carla has committed to staying in her position until January 2nd, 2024, or till the end of the semester, in order for us to seek a midterm graduate to fill her position. She teaches 4th grade at Jefferson Elementary School. So I am recommending that we approve her resignation effective January 2nd, 2024, pending a suitable replacement.
I would make the motion to approve the resignation of Carla Miles effective January 2nd, 2024, pending a suitable replacement.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Cindy and a second by Terry. Is there any discussion? I'm just thankful that she, even though her husband's moved, she stayed here because it'd be really hard to find somebody, and hopefully we can get somebody who graduates at semester. So thank you, Carla, for doing that. Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Callan. Well, thank you all for staying tonight. The second monthly meeting of the Board of Education has been scheduled for noon on Thursday, September 28th, 2023. This is when the budget and tax levy will be voted on. The regular next meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, October 9th, 2023. The study session will begin at 5:30 p.m. The regular business meeting will start at 6:30 p.m. All components of these meetings will be held here at the Central Administration offices and will be open to the public unless an executive session is needed in order to protect the interest of the district or the reputation of the individual. With that, we need to go into executive session. Motion.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss litigation. Second that motion.
We have a motion by Beth and a second by Brenda. Any discussion? Please vote.
We'll have to do a roll call vote unless you can put that back up.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, Callan.
And I do not anticipate that we will take any action following the executive session.